Whatever people say about goal scorers, you need one. And he was one.
With Jean-Pierre, it was all about finishing. That was his thing.
He had a sledgehammer on the right foot. Volleys. He was good in the air for his height. He just loved scoring goals.
Speed, explosive pace, spontaneity.
They saw only the goal and the ball and himself.
When the ball left my partner's foot, I knew where I needed to be. I knew the trajectory and the power on the pass, so I'd have an advantage over the goalkeeper and the defenders.
He had an eye for goal that made him one of the best strikers in France.
Jean-Pierre Papin, he makes it look so easy.
I didn't explicitly try to score bicycle kicks or the perfect volley, it just happened. And I knew how to do it. I think it's down to the amount of practice that I had.
It was down to hard work. He didn't leave anything to chance. He practiced volleys all the time.
The amount of time he would spend repeating strikes in front of goal, volleys, controlling and shooting, both before and after training.
The one thing you couldn't fault him for was practicing how to score goals.
He killed a few pigeons at first, but when he found his range, he scored some fabulous goals.
I was a Marseille fan when I was little, and he was a super goal scorer. He scored beautiful goals, including bicycle kicks.
He has good bicycle kicks.
They were known later as Papinards. They were surprising, but very effective.
I scored a lot of goals, including Papinards.
It was crazy, because Jean-Pierre could receive a bad pass and hit it in the top corner.
There were some beautiful ones on television, but even more in training.
Growing up in Boulogne-sur-Mer, where his father played professionally, Jean-Pierre Papin had football in his blood. In 1981, after being spotted scoring for fun for the Valenciennes youth team, Papin was invited to join the INF, the French Federation-run National Football Institute.
I think there's no better place to learn than at the INF. You're thrown into important competitions very quickly. That helped me to develop qualities that I had, which made me sharper and more mature.
After 3 years at the INF, Papin returned to Valenciennes in the second division and the chance to begin his career as a professional.
You need some luck in your career. At Valenciennes, I was lucky that the club's captain and centre-forward went to play in the Olympics. I took his place and kept it. I think I scored 17 goals in the second division, which was the springboard for my move to Bruges. They came to watch me once, then again, and eventually 12 times in total. Each time they came, I managed to score or play very well, and so the offer came in. It was a good opportunity. It was abroad, so it would be completely different. In the end, I signed for Bruges. Belgium's Willy Wellens was ahead of me in the pecking order, and I thought I was there as his understudy, but he suffered a groin strain and was out for 2 months. I took his place and kept my spot.
Papin's one season in Belgium saw him notch 20 goals as Bruges had their most successful season in a generation, finishing runners-up in the league and winning the Belgian Cup, where Papin helped himself to 2 goals in the final. But an even bigger reward was on the horizon, as the 22-year-old Papin was the surprise pick for the France squad going to the World Cup finals in Mexico.
Jean-Pierre was the surprise package. He made the most of his brilliant season for Bruges, and we discovered an explosive striker who was quick and impulsive.
I was very nervous to be rubbing shoulders with those players heading into the World Cup. Playing with Michel Platini, who was my idol, wasn't easy. But at the time, it was so wonderful, and a lasting memory. He didn't know who I was. I was a fan of his, and I had a poster of him in my bedroom. And then to find myself alongside him at the World Cup was something else.
In a team full of legends, Papin was surprised to be given a starting spot in France's opening game.
His goal allowed France to make a good start to the World Cup and approach the following games with more confidence.
I must have missed 5 good chances before that. I would have been the top scorer at the World Cup if I'd scored those 5, combined with the one that I did score. I could have been the top goal scorer at the World Cup, but I wasn't ready for it.
The French lost to West Germany in the semi-finals, but victory in the third-place playoff against Belgium saw Papin pick up his 2nd goal to cap off a memorable tournament.
It goes down as a simply magical moment in my career. The World Cup's wonderful, and it's the tournament that every boy dreams of playing in one day.
Marseille in the south of France had been a club in decline for many years, but after 8 seasons in Ligue 2, they were back in the top flight and now under the guidance of new owner-entrepreneur Bernard Tapie.
He won the Tour de France 4 years running. Not him pedalling, actually, but his team won it. And then somebody said, if you want a challenge, go and take Marseille and make them great again. And he took the challenge on, invested a lot of money, built a side. He turned Marseille into a great team.
It was the start of the Tapie era, following promotion from League 2. The first season had been rather tough. They had a good team, but they wanted to strengthen it.
After just 3 months in charge, Tapie went about rebuilding the entire team. After signing legendary French midfielder Alain Giresse, he looked for a striker. He wanted Papin.
When he decides it's a yes, it's a yes. Then it's just down to you.
He signed from Bruges. I think he was a young striker who wanted to grow as a player. He took on an important role in the group and in the team. He found his place, and through having that confidence, he became the Jean-Pierre Papin that we all got to know.
To be honest, I still don't know how he did it. I'd signed a pre-contract with Monaco, and then I met Tapie in Paris. He told me that I had to join Olympique Marseille, and that he'd take care of the rest. I said, OK, if you want to, but I still don't know how he did it.
Despite netting 13 times in that 1986-87 season, Papin found top-flight football tough and was determined to improve.
It was effectively a continuation of what happened at the World Cup. I had lots of chances, but I didn't score that many goals. I got criticised by the club's fans, which I didn't like. I had to change the way I worked and the way I improved.
He certainly became stronger. He developed his character, and I think he learnt a huge amount. I think that joining Marseille did him the world of good, and it was the club that he needed.
The following season, 1987-88, Papin topped the scoring charts with 19 goals, forging an excellent partnership with new signing Klaus Allofs in the process. but the club finished a disappointing 6th in the league. However, Giresse' departure saw Papin installed as captain for the following season, and he was determined to drive the club onward.
I think we were the best, but we still had to fight for the title until the last 3 games of the season. So we had to be solid. And I think the great work Bernard Tapie put in proved that he knew what he was doing, that he'd learnt a lot. And I think this team had been set up to be the best. We were neck and neck with PSG for quite a long time. We scored in the 87th minute to beat them 1-0, which put us top of the table. And then we were crowned champions 2 weeks later against Auxerre.
That league title was Marseille's first in 17 years, but there was more still to play for.
There were parties, laps of honour, and the champagne in the shower afterwards. But it wasn't completely over yet, as we still had the French Cup final to play. We reached the final, which was against Monaco, one of the top teams in the league. I think it's the game I'd prepared for the worst in my career. I'd eaten a lot of junk food as we were celebrating the title. But when we arrived at the stadium, we went to see the pitch. And the Parc des Princes was all white and blue. I still have goosebumps when I talk about it. And when we entered the changing room, it was completely quiet. Nobody spoke until we went onto the pitch to train. We gathered round, and we said to each other, we just can't fail the fans tonight.
The final was a classic. Marseille winning their first ever double, beating Monaco 4-3, with the captain scoring a hat-trick.
I had a crazy bet with the players that I would kiss the President of France on the forehead if we won. But when you find yourself facing the President, it's like facing a monument. He's so respected. So I asked him nicely, Mr. President, can I kiss you, please?
Having led the club to their first ever double and on the verge of the most successful period in their history, Jean-Pierre Papin was now the king of Marseille, the hero of the Marseillaise.
Goal scorers will always be the darling of the crowd. Everybody loves a goal scorer. Don't care what anybody says. If you're scoring, you become very popular. He got his rewards because he worked hard.
Obviously, the striker always plays the most important part. And it was him who turned our domination and skill into results. So it wasn't a fluke that he was our leading scorer 2 or 3 times.
There was something in the way he played that was incredible, because having that much confidence isn't typically a French attribute. Generally, French players question themselves, but Jean-Pierre always went for it.
He represented Marseille well and was close to the people. They loved winners who gave everything for the shirt. I think Jean-Pierre was a great representative for Olympique Marseille.
While the fans were still celebrating their recent triumph, Marseille continued to rebuild. Didier Deschamps came in from Nantes, but the most significant signing for Papin was winger Chris Waddle, signed from Tottenham. The duo formed an instant rapport to spur Marseille on to further success.
I was the only one who spoke English, so Tapie asked me to take care of Chris. His house wasn't ready to move into, so he stayed at mine for 2 months.
I was sitting in the dugout watching them, and it was the first time I'd seen them play. And I thought, wow, what a team these are. I was just studying, watching how they played, really, to think, right, where am I going to fit in here?
When Chris arrived, we first became friends, and then we complemented each other and developed an understanding on the pitch. It was perfect.
I watched how he played, and he was ideal for me in a way. I could pick the ball up, and obviously I knew what I could do. He made good runs in behind defenders. He could spin. He was very quick over 10, 15 yards. we had an agreement where it was this, if he looked at us and he pointed that way, even though he spun off that way, I knew we wanted the ball there. And then I just basically didn't balls in where he was pointing, and it worked a treat.
Papin was again top goal scorer as Marseille retained the league title. But the club had their sights set higher, a European crown. April 1990 saw them reach their first European Cup semi-final against Benfica.
We were really on top and could have scored 6 goals in the first leg.
Off the crossbar.
We only won 2-1. And we lost 1-0 in the second leg after a handball. It ruined everything we'd been building for years. But that's football. You've got to accept it.
With the bitter taste of defeat came a stronger resolve. 12 months later, Marseille reached their first ever European Cup final and were firm favourites to beat Red Star Belgrade of Yugoslavia.
We beat Milan and, we hammered Moscow in the semis. And going into the final, we just thought, nobody stops. We'd watched them, Red Star, very entertaining side. So we thought this is going to be a good final. It's going to go toe-to-toe because we weren't going to sit back. And they parked the bus. And we were really shocked. They just basically sat deep and they just doubled up on all over the park. So we didn't get any space, any time, and they took the chances on the shootout. And they drove off for the trophy.
When I look back at it, the only game we didn't play well in was the final. We had no experience at all. We'd played 2 semi-finals, both of which we'd lost. So it was actually the first big final for all the players. But we failed.
Despite that disappointing end to the season, it proved a triumphant one on a personal level for Papin, who was named winner of the Ballon d'Or for 1991.
Despite losing the final, I had a good qualifying campaign for Euro 92 and scored a few papinades and a lot of goals overall. To be honest, Ballon d'Or. I was always aiming at the European Golden Shoe. But being named the best football player in the world is something I would have never imagined.
The following season, 91-92, saw Marseille showboat their way to another title, their 4th consecutive Ligue 1 win, while Papin was named top scorer for the 5th year in a row. With 121 league goals in 5 years, the bigger guns of Europe were circling, and an emotional Papin finally said goodbye to Marseille.
I'm not going to lie. For 6 years, we've done everything together. And a lot of what I've achieved is down to you. Actually, it's all down to you. I want to tell you now that I'm going to AC Milan. My relationship with Bernard was becoming a bit complicated, tense in the end. It was a normal thing to happen, as we were like an old couple, and we argued a few times. But above all, I also had the desire to discover something else.
Jean-Pierre had the option at Tottenham and AC Milan. Now I told him to go to Tottenham because he'd love English football. He'd definitely get the 20 goals easy. But AC Milan were AC Milan.
Papin left Marseille and signed for Milan for a world record transfer fee of £10 million. But before his Italian adventure could get underway, there was the small matter of the European Championships with France.
Take the game against Denmark seriously enough. We'd seen how far they'd come, but we also thought that the third game would be easy.
Failure to qualify for the World Cup in '94 meant Papin's international career was ultimately a disappointment. Back on the domestic scene, Papin's move to AC Milan saw him with a chance to establish himself in a different league and a different country.
It was the next level. You realise that when you play in real games, you can see it. But once I got used to the preparation, I was unstoppable. I was scoring goal after goal in every game. It was just the same as Marseille, except I was experiencing those kinds of emotions for the second time. And I was abroad this time, at one of the legendary European clubs. So obviously it left a mark on me, especially because we won the first title without losing a game. You think to yourself, wow, this is simply outstanding. These are the reasons why you want to play for such a club. You want to leave a mark at some point in your career, to win the most important trophies.
In 2 seasons, Milan won the title twice, as Papin notched up a record of a goal every other game. Milan, the giants on the European stage, also reached their 6th European Cup final, against Marseille.
It was horrible.
It was the mighty Milan. They were a huge, huge team. It was going to need a masterstroke in any event. And we knew the match would be tough. It was the highest priority for the club, the managers and the staff.
It was too much to take, but as I said earlier, that's how sport goes. You sometimes make choices, but you don't know what's going to happen next. And that's what makes it beautiful too. It did hurt me, because I lost for the 2nd time, but I still felt happy somehow.
We was looking for a striker, and we know Jean-Pierre Papin from the years before, when he was playing in Marseille, top scorer, why AC Milan bought him. And then we had the chance to buy him for us.
I met with Giovanni Trapattoni, who was set to become the Bayern coach, and I gave him my word that I would sign for Bayern if I were to leave AC Milan. 2 weeks later, just before signing for Bayern, Real Madrid called me, and I can still hear myself answer them. Sorry, I gave my word to Bayern. I won't sign for you. It's something I still kick myself about. Getting injured was something new for me, and in 14 months I got injured not once, but 4 times. So all in all, it wasn't the ideal place for me to perform well. But I still managed to finish the campaign, to get back among the goals, including the goal of... We also won the UEFA Cup. When you're motivated, when you feel well physically, it's easier. But it was a nightmare for 14 months.
In 1996, after that disappointment of Germany, Papin moved back to France with Bordeaux.
At this point in my career, I was looking for some peace and quiet. We had a young and very friendly team. And in the end, although we lost 2 League Cup finals, both on penalties, we did qualify twice for the UEFA Cup. So I had a good couple of seasons, and I decided to leave after that.
After a season for lower league Guingamp, Papin saw out the end of his career at amateur sides Saint-Pierroise in Réunion, a small island east of Madagascar. And at Cap Ferret in western France, where he continued doing what he'd always done, scoring goals until his retirement at 40 years of age. With a career record of 323 goals in 576 matches, Jean-Pierre Papin will be remembered as one of the great goal scorers of his generation, a talent who could get the ball in the net from any angle.
Obviously, there was an element of risk-taking, but it was the success rate he got from improbable strikes, which few other players could have done so effectively.
If he got 2, 3, 1 forward, 1 5, he wanted to score as many goals as possible.
With Papin, it was all about the penalty box. And then he'd be ready to pounce in any situation. With his control, shooting and volleys, he was most dangerous in the last 25 metres.
He often found himself in very tricky positions, but he'd managed to get out of them and score incredible goals. I learned from him all about determination and not doubting yourself. I'm sure he had his doubts and was sometimes low on confidence, but he never showed it.
How would you like to be remembered as a footballer?
Just the goals.